This is TWiT.
10 years ago, 10 years and 2 days ago, in fact, Android made its triumphant, ceremonial, I don't know what it is, some insert adjective. They launched 10 years ago and 10 years and 2 days ago. The T-Mobile G1 hit stores as the first Android handset available to the public marketplace. Over the weekend, a lot of people alerted us to it on social. I saw Jason tweeting about it. I piggybacked on Jason's tweet, and we figured we had to reflect on 10 years of Android here.
10 years.
Everyone at the table has got a storied history with Android. I want to know, to celebrate Android's birthday, I want to know, what was your first Android phone and what was your favorite thing about it or about Android in general once you got your hands on it? So Jason, why don't you kick it off?
Oh, I'm not mine doesn't date back as far as some of those here at the table, but mine was definitely the Motorola Droid on Verizon.
Victor Yade, by the way.
I got a cheer. I love it. You know, there was such a marketing push behind the Motorola Droid, and that was totally my first truly smartphone.
They licensed it from Lucasfilm, by the way.
Yeah,
the Droid name.
Yeah, that's right.
And it came with there was a white variant that had R2 painted on the back of it.
Right. Yep. I remember that. You never really saw it.
My friend was still using that phone 3 years ago. I was like, how are you still using it? It's
I need a keyboard.
And that phone, you go back to that phone now, and it's just it's painful. But then it was power. It felt like power having that phone. And I think the thing that I loved most about it, and it wasn't specific to that phone, it was just the idea that I had the desktop browser experience in my pocket. Because before that, you could get on the internet, but it was a little it was made for your flip phone or whatever. It was like a tailored version of the internet of browsing the web.
I still posted to LiveJournal from my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have a LiveJournal account.
That's good. Well,
but it was just cool that I could go to a website and see the actual website and not some tailor-made mobile stripped-down version of a website. That's what I loved most. What about you, Flo?
What about me? What about me?
Yes. What about you, Flo?
Your first Android phone.
My first Android phone was the HTC Incredible on
Incredible.
Big
I remember
Red.
the Incredible.
And I had that phone for 3 years. It actually died at the end of a CES escalator, because it fell out of my hands and it went boop, boop, boop down this very long escalator at Caesar's Palace. And it ended there for me.
So the Droid Incredible came out in 2010.
Yes.
So what did you use before the Droid Incredible? I also like to know what the phone before Android was. Jason, I want to hear what yours was, because I think that's a big distinction as well, too.
I had a texting phone from LG.
Okay, yeah. So you had a feature phone.
With not a capacitive touchscreen, but oh my God, I forgot the name.
Yeah, I forgot the name too.
The other kind of touchscreen that's not capacitive. It was that kind. Resistive. I forgot it. Because I haven't used it in so long.
Yeah,
and it was awful. I had to really press to push a number.
Oh, I remember that era, because there were a couple of years there where it was still straddling between capacitive and resistive.
BlackBerry had a phone like that, I think.
So painful.
Yeah.
Screen. I can't remember mine specifically. It may have been an LG Chocolate or something, but it was totally a feature phone. That could play a handful of a Diner Dash was on it. That I could play. And I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Buy Tetris on every phone that I got just to have one game.
Yes.
So Flo, what did you like about Android and the Droid Incredible once you got your hands on it?
For me, it was about, at that time, I was working at MacLife, so everybody around me had iPhones, and I was on Verizon. Verizon did not have the iPhone at that time.
Oh, yeah,
but also, I was still really into building computers, so it really intersected in that Venn diagram of I want something really customizable that is not made by Apple. So it's exactly why I geared toward it. And then from there, it was instant love. I had maps, so I was able to more easily get around the city. That year when I got my phone, I took a bunch of road trips by myself in my car because I had Google Maps, free Google Maps at my fingertips. I didn't have to pay for it as long as I had
and that was a big
connection.
Deal. Didn't have to pay for it.
It just empowered me to go out on my own, and I had so many adventures with that phone, and I still love all the pictures I took with it, even though they're so low res. I have them multiply backed up because it was just I had such a great time with my little smartphone.
It was a good era.
Yeah. So good.
What about you, Matteo?
What about you, Matteo, from Europe?
So my first Android device was a T-Mobile Pulse. This was back in the day. I've just popped the link into the spreadsheet. So the T-Mobile Pulse was a rebranded Huawei device for a mobile phone network called T-Mobile.
You know, I was going to joke and say, was your first device a Huawei device? But of course it was.
Sure was. Yeah.
It was a rebranded Huawei device. And at the time, Huawei were an unknown brand, even in Europe.
Yeah. Oh,
They
really?
used to make the network-branded devices. They used to make the business-focused network-branded devices. And this was the first pay-as-you-go Android device. T-Mobile was the launch partner for the G1 in the UK as well. And this was their first keyboardless Android device, and it was the first that was also available without a contract. You could buy one of these for less than £200. So that's essentially the first Android device I got, moving up from a Nokia N73, an iPhone 3G, the first one that hit the UK, and a Nokia E71. So the Nokia N73 was the camera-focused 3-megapixel Nokia. The iPhone was, well, everyone knows the iPhone 3G. And the Nokia E71 was a BlackBerry-like Nokia with a keyboard that was running Symbian.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I remember people used to hack that.
Yes, and that was the whole point I had, specifically the E71, the N73, and the T-Mobile Pulse, was you could really do almost anything.
All the
with
Europeans I know where they were just like, they were doing all this cool stuff with their phones. And every time I'd go to Romania, I'd be like, look at this cool thing I did.
And essentially, the T-Mobile Pulse is what got me into being quite active on a website called Modaco, Paul O'Brien's website. I then became a contributor and writer for his site, and that's what got me into where I am now.
Wow.
So it was a very interesting time. I learned a lot. These devices enabled me to actually take my passion to the next level and get into it to the point where my employment is thanks to the experiences I had with that.
Yeah, that's a big moment. 3.5-inch display, 320 by 480 pixels. Android 1.5, 192 megs of storage. Man,
it had a
1500
trackball.
milliamp hour battery.
And it had a trackball, which was amazing.
Oh, yes. Okay. There was the trackball era. I remember this. This was a thing.
Well, speaking of the trackball, that's a good segue to my first phone.
Yeah.
Which was the G1. I actually I'll never forget it. I was working at Revision 3 in San Francisco, and I was on an HTC, I don't know what device it was, but I was on an HTC Windows phone, one of those chunky chocolate bar ones, but with a slide out keyboard, like with the thick black antenna that stuck out. Remember those? And I went to have drinks with a friend of mine who later went on to work at Revision 3, and he was also much like us, Rob DeMillo, good dude, and he had just gotten it. And he had showed me Android and played with it. And I literally left the bar and walked across the street to the T-Mobile shop on the corner of 3rd Street in San Francisco and signed up and got the phone immediately.
Of course,
I literally went from the bar straight to get the phone. I was just trying to look on my T-Mobile account to see if I could find the day I opened my account. But sadly, all their online data stops at 2016. So it doesn't go back to 2017. So I can't see my account history. But yeah, so I don't think it was launch day. I think it was like a week later. So
Ron, you beat us, maybe.
Old school.
Oh, yeah.
I'm old school.
I would say so.
Ron beat everybody to the punch.
I knew that,
I'd say
Ron,
you
I
were
knew that you were
second.
there
So that was
early on.
At launch,
Well,
it was August 2009. This was quite late on.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I was dying on that clunky Windows phone because I could taste the internet, but you couldn't actually use it. You know, like it wasn't. Oh, it was awful. And I gotta admit that dang trackball was amazing. It was just it felt that holding the G1, even with the slide out keyboard, but with the orientation, the full screen, and the UI and all this stuff, it felt like the first time I was holding a device from the future.
Yeah.
Like you know, it really felt like that was the moment where you're like, okay, yeah, I get this. This is gonna be awesome. And never looked back. 10 years later, crazy.
How cool.
I'm getting choked up. It's
okay. It's okay, Ron. It's okay. Take a break.
It's fantastic. Happy birthday, Android. We wouldn't be here without you. Thank you.
It's
Happy
true.
anniversary.
We wouldn't.
Happy
It wouldn't be
birthday,
all about
G1.
Android if it weren't for Android.
It's true. I know. It's set the path.